Good afternoon, good evening. Allow me to welcome you back to another episode of Dad Can We Talk. As always, I am your host, Gabe Dorsey. I thank you for tuning in again. I thank you for sticking with me through this is episode 14. 14 episodes. It's been 14 episodes of me doing this. So I thank you for continuing to tune in. I hope everybody had a blessed Memorial Day weekend. I hope you had fun barbecuing, grilling, getting in the pool, having water fights, and all of that good stuff over the 3-day weekend. As you recall on last week, for the past couple episodes, I've been dealing with abuse, and last week, my last two episodes have been about child abuse, and I covered both sides of the issue, why you shouldn't abuse a child, and some steps that you can take when you need to have, like when you feel yourself as a parent about to reach that breaking point. And so I realized that I've been on this topic of abuse, and now that I've gotten through child abuse, it's time to talk about a different form of abuse. I referenced it 3 episodes ago, but we're going to talk about it today. We're going to be talking about domestic abuse, domestic violence. There's a couple different names for it, but we're going to talk about today domestic abuse. And as usual, I'm not going to come before you prepared with anything other than cold, hard facts. So we're going to start with some statistics. On average, before I forget, as I always do, you know where I get these statistics from. I get them from the US Census. I get them from the Department of Mental Health. I get them from there's a different organizations that specialize in helping survivors of mental or of abuse in general. Like one of the sites that I get a lot of my stats from is called Project Sanctuary, if you would like to check them out. But back to these stats. So, on average, nearly 20 people per minute are victims of physical violence by an intimate partner. During 1 year, that equates to more than 10 million people. 1 in 3 women have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner within their lifetime. 1 in 5 women have experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. 1 in 7 women have experienced stalking victimization during their lifetime, in which they felt very fearful or believed that they or someone close to them would be harmed or killed. On a typical day, there are more than 20,000 phone calls placed to domestic violence hotlines worldwide. Now let's stop for a second. Let's think about that. So there are 10 million people in a year who are dealing with domestic violence. 20,000 phone calls a day on average. 20,000 phone calls a day being placed to domestic violence hotlines. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I think that's a problem. I don't know how anybody else feels about it. I don't know if y'all can agree with me, disagree with me, but I think that's a problem. Why is it that so many women have experiences with domestic abuse? Because, and I say this a lot throughout the course of this show, but you can't freehand life. There's a roadmap put there for you, and that covers any aspect of life. The word covers any aspect from top to bottom. There's nothing that you can deal with, nothing that you can go through that the word does not cover. It's there for us as a guideline, as guidelines to help us navigate this life thing. But yet we don't seem to be following the guidelines. Now, I gave you the stats. So now I'm going to give you the scriptures. First Peter 3:7 says, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. James 1:19-20 says, know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, for the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. Ephesians 4:26 says, be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. And here's my personal favorite. Ephesians 5:25-30 says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself, for no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church. I love that verse. I really do, because it gives you everything that you need to know about being a husband. See, there's a lot of people out here who have really nice homes, right? They have beautiful homes, lawn, freshly cut, bushes, hedges trimmed. Their decorations throughout their house look beautiful. The family photos up all over the wall, kitchen freshly done, basement redone. It's a very nice house. But are they taking care of the people inside that house? I know you don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm gonna get there. See, the distinction that a lot of people fail to make is that the church is not the building. The church is the people. Jesus loved the people as he loved himself. So when the word says, love your wife as Christ loved the church, it doesn't mean take care of the building. It means take care of the people. Well, Gabe, what are you saying? I'm saying that it doesn't matter how nice your house is. It doesn't matter how fancy your car is. It doesn't matter how many trinkets or gadgets or whatever, however updated, however modern your house is, if you're not taking care of the people inside of it. The church is not the building. It doesn't say Jesus loved the building. Nowhere in the word does it say Jesus valued the building over the people. It says, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And Jesus loved the people. He sacrificed himself for the people, which means husbands are supposed to sacrifice themselves for their wives. Nowhere in the word does it say you should beat on your wife. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that you as a man should go around hitting on your wife. Because see, you can't say you love somebody and then abuse them. It doesn't work in any situation, because what does the Bible say love is? The Bible says love is patient, love is kind, love is long suffering. Like, you know where I'm going with this. So there's no way in that verse, there's nowhere in that verse does it say love is going to beat the mess out of you if you don't do what love says. Show me where in the Bible it says that love is going to put their hands on you if you don't do what love says. I said it in the episode about when I was discussing child abuse, and I'm going to say it again. God's mercies are new for you every day you wake up. Every day you wake up, they're brand new for you. His patience every day you wake up is brand new for you. So where do you get off thinking that you have the right to abuse the people in your life. Because again, it doesn't matter how nice your house is. It doesn't matter how fancy your car is. It doesn't matter what you wear, the watches, the jewelry. None of that matters. If the outside is pleasant, it doesn't matter because the inside is rotten. Again, Jesus didn't love the building. He loved the people. The people were the church. Your wife is your church. You're supposed to love her the way Jesus loved the church. Jesus didn't love the building. He wasn't going around saying, "Oh, my people, I'm leaving my people hungry. I'm letting my people starve. I'm not teaching my people right, but I'm taking care of the building." Jesus took care of the church. He held sermons on the mountain. He held sermons in the vineyard. He didn't need a building to take care of people. If I'm losing you, I apologize. I'm coming back to my point, and that is that it doesn't matter how nice your home is. It doesn't matter how nice your clothes are. It doesn't matter what the outside appearance is like if you're not taking care of the people inside. None of it matters. Ephesians 4:31 says, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice." Proverbs 18:22 says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." So let's examine that. Not only are you supposed to love your wife as Jesus loved the church, but when you found a wife, you've now gained favor with the Lord. That makes sense to me. I don't know if it makes sense to y'all, but it makes sense to me. Because what that says to me is that you will lose favor if you don't love her like Christ loved the church. Because there's no excuse. You can't call it love. You can't say it's love. That's not love. Abuse is not love. You can't hit your wife or hit your girlfriend or hit your fiance. You can't do that and then say I love you. Again, show me where in the Bible that it gives men permission to beat on their wives. Please list me some references of where it says that anywhere in the word. I give up the whole show right now. If you can find where in the Bible it says you can abuse your wife. Colossians 3:19 says, "Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them." See, a lot of people today would have you believe that you can freehand this marriage thing. See, we keep talking about this freehanding things, trying to freehand parent and freehand have a marriage and freehand live life. But there's a guide for it. There's a guide for it. It's told you over and over and over in any of these verses that I have read today. Husbands, love your wives. Do not be harsh with them. Do not let the sun set on your anger. Don't go to bed angry. It's there for you to pick apart. You wonder why so many marriages today, so many relationships today don't work, because what is your foundation on? What is your foundation built upon? And I'm well aware that some things go back generations in time. I'm well aware. I know you watched your father do it. I know he watched his father do it. But where does it end? Where does this end? What foundation are you building your life on? Gabe, I never had a father figure in my. God didn't abandon you. Well, my dad didn't teach me how to. The word is right there for you to understand. Well, I've been through. God says if you come to me, I'll heal you. The moral of the story is there's no excuses. There's no excuses. See, I was raised that there was never ever a reason to put your hands on a woman, ever in life. That's what I was taught. And that's a lesson that I carry with me to this day. I never forget it. I never I've never let it. Have I gotten angry? Yes. Have I gotten upset? Yes. But I have never ever forgotten that. I watched my father get angry with my mother. Absolutely. I watched them argue. I watched them yell at each other. But I never once saw him put his hands on her. Ever. And I've watched my parents go through serious ups and downs. Like serious ups and downs. But never did I ever see my father cross that line. My point is, there are no excuses. God has never abandoned anybody to. He will not abandon you. The word, the story of Noah and the ark. He flooded the earth one time and decided, I'm never doing that again. So I understand that dad wasn't there. I understand there wasn't an uncle. I understand there wasn't a family friend. I understand that there wasn't anybody to show you X, Y, and Z. But God never left you. God has never left you. My grandmother always says every time she's preaching, the promises of God are yea, yea, and amen. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you to prosper you. So I understand that dad wasn't there. I understand that uncle wasn't there. I understand that you had to figure it out by yourself. But that doesn't mean that you continue. That doesn't mean that you continue to pass on the abuse. That doesn't mean that you continue to disrespect and mistreat the women in your life. Because there's no, again, show. I will give up the show if you can prove to me where it says that you should beat on your wife. You get upset, you get into an argument, you put your hands on it, and then you just go on about your day like everything is cool. You just out in the living room playing Madden like everything is gravy. That's not loving your wife like Christ loved the church. That's not of God. 1 Timothy 5:8 says, but if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for the members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. That's right out of the word. Where in the word does it say providing for your wife includes abuse? You're supposed to take care of her. You're supposed to love her. You're supposed to cherish her. You're supposed to be the head of your household. Where in that does it say abuse your wife? And see, I know this episode I'm only focusing on men hitting women, but I'll be back around next episode because whether you like to admit it or not, there are men who get abused, but we're going to save that for next episode. Right now, this is what we're on, that men should not abuse their wives. Ephesians 5:33 says, however, let each one of you love his wife as himself. Would you hit yourself? Would you abuse yourself? Speak to yourself harshly? Degrade yourself? Tell yourself you ain't XYZ? Then why would you do that to your wife? Love your wife as yourself. It's the same basic principle that's preached throughout the Bible. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love thy neighbor as yourself. You want God to be merciful to you. You want God to be fair to you. You want God to be kind to you. You want God to bless you. If you don't provide for your household, you're an unbeliever. What is God going to do for you? Love your wife as you love yourself. Love your wife as Christ loved the church. Love your wife and give yourself up for her like Christ gave himself up for the church. Where in any of those instructions does it say, beat on your wife? Because again, you can't freehand life. You can't call yourself a believer and then go about life free-handing it, doing everything on your whim, doing everything on your will, doing everything your way. Your foundation is not solid. The word is a solid foundation to build your life upon. It's a solid foundation to raise your children upon. It's a solid foundation to base your marriage upon. It's a solid foundation. Because again, there is nothing that we as humans will go through. There's no situation that will arise that we cannot go to the word for. There's nothing. So my point to you today is there's no excuse. There's no excuse to ever put your hands on a woman. Ever. There's no reason to do that. Because you can't say that it's love. You cannot. You imagine if God came down out of the clouds and backhanded you every time you did something wrong? You just imagine every time you did something wrong, God came down out of the clouds and just decided to backhand you in front of everybody. Abuse is abuse, no matter which way you put it. It doesn't say Jesus yelled at the church. It doesn't say Jesus cursed at the church. It doesn't say Jesus went around smacking the church. It says he loved the church and he gave himself up for the church. It doesn't matter how nice the building is if the people inside are not taken care of. It doesn't matter how good your life looks on the surface. Doesn't matter how many family photos you hang up. If the people in those photos are not taken care of, because you're not loving your wife like Christ loved the church if you continue to put your hands on her. Greatest commandment God ever gave was to love. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So I say to you today, If you are a man who thinks that hitting his wife is the way that a marriage is supposed to be run, if you watch this later, if you're watching this now, if that's the way you think a marriage is supposed to run, if that's how you think women should be treated, I advise you to take a second look in the mirror. I advise you to take a second look in the mirror, reevaluate yourself, reevaluate what you've been doing, because there are no excuses. None. Ask yourselves today, are you truly loving your wife as Christ loved the church? And if the answer is no, then you have got some work to do. I thank everybody for tuning in today. I hope that you will return next week and join me as we continue to dissect this and get into this. Um, I hope I didn't scare anybody off. And I pray that you all continue to be blessed, have a blessed day, and a blessed week. And I will see you next week right here, same time. Be blessed.